junior for sure, and adult singles as well, or adult Canadian badminton, right?
Yeah, a bit of both.
Well, as I was saying, coming up now, we have the women's singles, and this is between Li Xuerui from China and Asuka Takahashi from Japan. Just a quick rundown on these two. Now, this is an issue for the tournament in that Li from China, she injured her Achilles or anterior cruciate ligament in the Rio Olympics. I think it was in the semifinals against Carolina Moran. So she had a default and hasn't been able to play for a while. So her current ranking in singles is quite low compared to her relative strength. She is ranked 141st. However, she was for 3 years the world #1 singles player. And she has won 14 Super Series titles, but she had no seed in either this tournament or the US Open, so she was a qualifier, believe it or not. And as a result, sort of cut through the draws like a hot knife through butter. And unfortunately, she met Michelle in both draws before the finals. Michelle Lee, our Canadian star, who is currently ranked 14th in the world, and she met Michelle in the second round of the Canadian Open here. So unfortunately, although Michelle went 3 games with her, Lee won. I shouldn't say unfortunately, but unfortunately for Canadians. And so she is now in the semifinals, and she's going against Asuka Takahashi, and Asuka is ranked 188th, and she is 18 years old. And she has a good mix of attack and tight net spins, similar to what we saw in our last match with the men's singles. She uses that in the women's singles. And she played against Rachel Hondrick, our Canadian woman, last night in the singles. She had a tough time finding the back line against Rachel, but she kept her shots close to the sidelines and in the end came out on top. Have you played in this building before?
Yeah, I played the 2015 and the 2016 Canada Open.
Okay, how'd you find it out here?
Pretty good compared to a lot of the international stadiums. It's got pretty good ceiling, and the floor is always really good, and not too much of a draft, so it's a pretty good arena.
No, I know some of the players were complaining about the visuals because of, I guess, the white seats and that sort of thing, but I mean, as international venues go, I think this looks pretty good. I mean, the setup's amazing. I think even to play on the courts, looks pretty nice.
Yeah, the couple times I played, it was pretty good compared to a lot of places that I've heard about and played in.
So like we said, Lee, she won her first round against an American woman and then came up against Michelle Lee in the second round and defeated her 21-10 in the third. Then she played against Japanese player Hayashi in the quarterfinals, and now she's up against another Japanese player, Takahashi. And on the other side of the draws,
ladies and gentlemen,
Takahashi, as we said, beat Rachel last night.
Li Xuerui, China. And on my left,
Korean player in the second round.
Asuka Takahashi, Japan.
And a Chinese player, Han Yue, in the first round.
Li Xuerui to serve. Love all. Play. One love.
So like we said, quite a bit of experience on Lee's side of the court against the 18-year-old on the other side.
Service over. 1-all. correction out.
Yeah.
2-1.
Anticipating many long serves or more the short serve style in this match?
I think probably more short. I think girls are starting to serve short more often
Service
now.
over.
They're heading that way, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah.
Use a bit of a mix, or how about yourself?
I always stuck with the big high single serve when I played. I always thought it was a good way to get someone all the way to the back and a little more off balance.
3-2.
Like we said, Lee had to qualify for the Canadian Open and the US Open. She went right through the US Open from the qualifying to win the event.
4-2.
Good slice.
5-2.
And a similar strategy in the women's singles than the men's, maybe a little less smashing type rallies, but still the same idea, move them to the corners, get people out of position, that sort of thing.
3-6.
Yeah, they're starting to play a little bit faster, too, in women's singles.
I guess both events, men's singles and women's singles, speeding up almost in double style or getting there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Service over. 7-3.
You see Lee wearing the brace for that ACL injury that she had in 2016.
Service over. 7-4-7.
Wow, that was a good shot.
Service over. 8-4.
Yeah, just too short. Can't lift short to her. Boy, Lee getting it to the corner as well.
10-4.
Yeah, she's really pushing her in both of those back corners.
I think that's really the difference between the best of the top level players is they're able to get the bird consistently to all the corners, tight to the lines, and if you hit a loose one, they're going to jump on it.
Service over. 5-10.
I think really at this point, it's Takahashi's job to try throw Lee off a bit. You don't want her to get too comfortable because you can see the game taking off on her pretty quickly. What's your single style? More rally them around, look for openings, and then jump on it. Yeah, pretty good smash. You know,
Yeah,
attack it
I
pretty
didn't
well.
use my attack as much as I probably should have, but I always tried to just run my opponent as much as I could. I love to play long rallies, like more the old style singles. Lots of clears and
6-10.
drops. But singles has gotten so much faster for women now. And like being able to change speeds is super important now.
Oh, good shot. She's putting up a good fight.
7-10.
Down the line, and there you go, the short clear by
Service over,
Takahashi, and then
11-7
Lee's all over it.
interval.
Yeah, she just jumped all over that one.
Well, she puts the pressure on. Lee's putting the pressure on Takahashi so that she's reaching for almost every shot. So she's just, you know, very rarely is she in position the way she wants to be. So odds are she's going to hit something a little loose eventually.
Yeah, she's really pushing her to those back corners and forcing her to hit a short one that she's able to get back, and it's hard to get back in the rally.
Looks like her coach wants her to hit a few cross courts. Forehand to forehand.
Court 1, 20 seconds. Court 1, 20 seconds. Coach.
I was watching Takahashi. Did the coach come out and talk to Lee?
I don't think so.
Just sitting there tight,
Yeah.
just comfy. I guess they have a good understanding.
Eleven, 7. Play.
What do you think Takahashi's coach is saying to her there?
I think she's saying you got to like not mix it up, but push her
12,
back also into those
7.
corners and mix up your style a little bit and have to get a little more pressure onto Lee because she's been forcing a lot of the points so far.
Well, she's definitely in the commanding position, isn't she?
Yeah.
See, it looks like that clear is a bit
13,
short.
7.
Yeah, she's hitting a little, her depth is a little bit short and it seems like she's getting caught a lot on that.
And it's just within Lee's range to put the bird where she wants it. But that's the level of the top player. They're
14,
so good
7.
unless you have to hit the bird right to that corner and right along the sideline in order to keep it out of their range. And if you don't do that, they're going to put the bird on the floor, which is exactly what Lee's doing. And it just forces Takahashi to hit the bird tighter and tighter to the sidelines, tighter to the net, and in the end, she's going to make more mistakes because of it. That's why I don't play singles.
15, 7.
Well, Lee's 27, fair bit of experience, and as we said before, Takahashi's 18. So this is a bit of a learning event possibly for her, a good chance to learn
Service
from
over. 8, 15.
Olympic gold medalists. Although I'm sure she wants to do more than that today. Nice slice. Hard to read those.
16,
Straight
8.
slice.
Lee has really good reach at the back of the court and she's cutting them off really well.
Service over, 9-16.
She's sort of acknowledging that she's hit it short, and Takahashi smash caught her. That seems to be Takahashi's best shot right now, is that smash down the line.
Yep, it's putting the pressure back on Lee.
Play.
Again, that chop to the forehand
Service
side.
over, 17-9.
It looks like it's going further back than it does, but the chop drops the bird down in front. It's got that full swing, but it just plops down there. You can see Takahashi just isn't seeing it. There's that corner again.
She's starting to push a lot more to the front now. She was pushing in the backcourt, and now she's using a lot of her drops and slices.
18-9.
Yeah. She just can't quite get there. But you're right. I mean, she was pushing her back, so Takahashi's having to cover the rear court a bit, and then that opens up the front.
18-9.
I mean, you know, it's one of these games that if everything the other person has is better or stronger than yours, it's just keep the bird in play and don't let it hit the floor and try to fight back as best you can.
Yep, just keep the rally going.
It's tiring though.
19-9.
Good spin by Lee. That's that spin where when your opponent hits it, they can't really control where it goes and it just goes sailing off the court.
She's just on top of that net now.
Yeah, such net control.
And she takes the bird so high.
28.9.
Takahashi's looking a little tired.
Service over.
I mean, between the deception and the accuracy of Lee, Takahashi's covering a lot of court.
Yep, she's doing a lot of running. But she's able to get the pressure back and move forward in the court as well.
Yeah, you're right. She's still like that. Still coming back at her.
11-20. Game.
Caught her wrong-footed a bit there. First game to
First
Lee.
game won by Li Xuerui, 21-11.
Lee's just so good at getting her in the corners and pushing her around and keeping her on her toes.
Yeah, she's looking very comfortable right now. I mean, the question is, what do you say to Takahashi as her coach? I mean, you know, you've got to try get Lee off balance somehow. I mean, that's what it is. You've got to get her out of her comfort zone somehow. And I mean, unless you're getting her to the very deep corners, you're going to be in trouble. And I think she tried to clear her a bit, and she was getting caught time and time again on those slice shots to the net. So, you know, I think you've got to the attack for Takahashi generally works if she can get in that position, but it's so hard to get in that position when you're attacking. She's just off balance. Like, you just see her just.
Yeah, she's playing a lot on the defense, and anytime she was able to attack, she did really well in the point, but she's just not always able to put that pressure back on Lee.
Well, and she's sort of scrambling a lot of times just to get the bird over, and you don't really, like, there. And you're just not really in that position to get on the attack.
It's hard to regain control when you're behind the bird a little bit.
Yeah. And there's the few, those opportunities that she gets. She is going after them and doing, smashing well down the line. Kind of rushed that one a little bit. But there's a lot of deception in Lee's shots. I think that Takahashi is constantly being kept a little off balance.
Lee does such a good job of pushing her opponents all around the court, and she doesn't keep playing to the same corners. She kind of, especially at the interval, she changed her game plan a little bit, but enough that she was able to keep pushing at the back, push at the front.
Second game, love all, play.
Any other suggestions for Takahashi?
I think if she can keep in the point and keep rallying and try and push Lee to the back, and she can get a little bit of pressure down, she'll be able to get a lot more points. It's hard when you're always the one scrambling and not able to take control of the point.
You kind of want to, you need to rattle her a bit, throw her off her game. Slice.
Service over, 1-all.
I think if Takahashi can take a little bit more control of the net as well. She's always the one who's a little bit late to the net, and that's giving Lee a lot of control.
There you go.
2-1. Play now.
It's hard to see it sometimes when it's televised, but there's a deception in there that Lee does a bit of a hold. It looks like she's going to clear that backs Takahashi off the net slightly, and then she just crosses it. Well, she's getting a few mistakes out of her, though.
3-2.
Yeah, she's really trying to hit a very precise shot from the back, right off the bat.
And she's getting better depth, I think, in this game than she was the first game. Got a few mistakes out of her.
4-2.
Yeah, if Takahashi can just keep rallying and break her down just a little bit, have some good rallies.
There's another one.
5-2.
I can't tell if it's, I think it's a combination of some of the length and pressure Takahashi's doing, and then a little bit of a lack of, I feel like Lee's got a bit of a lack of concentration at the moment. Just kind of regroup. I'm just missing it.
6-2.
I think Takahashi's also doing a better job of pushing the pace a little bit.
Yeah. shot. Wow.
7-2.
Cross court.
Service over.
Again, that
Green
bit of
7.
a hold. It looks like it might be a clear. Hold it and cross it.
And she gets it right into that corner.
Yeah, you're right. It's right to the line. We were talking about the seeds earlier, and there's a few reasons why the seeds can be a little funky, in that, you know, they either have someone who's injured, they don't get seeded. You get a player that doesn't play that many tournaments, so they don't get the seeds. Some like these younger players. Then you have a bunch of players that play some of the smaller tournaments and get lots of points, and other players that don't do that. So there's a lot of reasons why the seedings can be so
Service over. 8-3.
off at times, and we're seeing that here with this this event, where you've got someone who's seeded 144th in the world, beating players who are seeded way ahead of her, and then some relatively unknown players who are coming through the draws and defeating the seeded players. She's definitely getting some errors out of Lee in the second game.
She's playing a lot faster and attacking a lot more, which is working in her favor.
Service over. 4-9.
I think the trick is when you're a lower seeded player, or one that doesn't have the same experience, you know, the key is to try somehow throw that player off their game and rattle them a bit so they don't play their best. And I think you're right. She's jumped up, you know, picked up her pace a little bit. I think Lee's not hitting as accurately as she was the first game, and it's helping out Takahashi a lot. But she is going after a lot more than she was the first game.
Yeah, and she's really reaching when it's in that corner to try and get on top of the bird to put it down.
Lee missed it. Yeah, Lee's just missing those shots slightly, and she's being pushed around a little bit more. And you're right, Takahashi has picked up the pace a bit. She's going after it, and I think her coach is saying, you know, keep it coming down, keep that pressure on, and some off-speed shots. As much as Takahashi was winning with the full smash in the first game, or winning some rallies with it, I think, you know, her coach is having her hit some more off-speed shots to keep Lee guessing.
Yeah, and she's catching on to more of Lee's shots. She's not missing as many at the front anymore, and she's kind of caught on to that a little bit and adjusted to the pace.
Yeah, no, you're right. Lee was getting away with a lot of those shots in the first game that aren't winning her the rallies outright anymore. It's just a little bit more work for them now.
And once someone starts getting a lot of your shots back, you try and make it a bit better than the last one, which forces a lot of mistakes.
Which is, I think, what we're seeing in the second game from her.
11-4. Play. Service over. 5-11. Service over. 12-5.
Singles your favorite event?
Singles was always my favorite.
It was, eh?
Yeah. It's nice when you can just think on your, not on your own, but
Service over.
you can just focus on what your game plan is. And I just like the style of the long rallies, and I just always love training singles too.
Hmm.
7-12. It's 12.
Looks like Lee trying to get her focus back and regroup. Yeah. I can see her getting frustrated, just missing things in the second game.
13-8.
It's almost tough though. You get that first game under your belt and it's relatively easy, and then the second game comes along and your opponent's pushing back a little bit, and it's hard to raise your game up another notch sometimes. And it's like she's having a little trouble with that here.
Yeah, Takahashi's kind of come into her own a little bit more in the second game and rallying a lot better.
Yeah, yeah.
14-8.
Right to the much better depth, tighter to the corners now, and not making the same unforced errors she made in the first game.
She's really pushing her to those back corners now.
Shot again.
Lee's almost struggling with her depth a little bit more now in this game than she was in the first.
Yeah, her first game, everything was right to the corners, and Takahashi looked like she was just struggling just to keep up at all. And it's almost the reverse right now. The thing I like about Takahashi this game is she's coming, you know, she'll be stuck in a tough spot and she'll stick Lee right back into a tough spot herself. I think that's a mark of all the top singles players, though. You don't just retrieve it and, you know, get the bird back over. You put them back in a difficult spot. They had a shot, you know, a tough shot to you. You fire one back just as tough if you can.
You always have to think a couple shots ahead.
Yeah.
17-8.
Lee's looking like a different player this second game. Well, they both are. They're both looking like different players. There's that slice that Lee was winning on the first game outright, and now Takahashi's getting it back, and Lee's just not really ready to respond to it.
It's good to see Takahashi catching up a little bit more at the net now.
And there's Lee going for that shot again, but not making it over.
18-8.
No. Too tight.
Service over, 9-18.
Yeah, just too tight a spin.
She gets it so high.
Again, there's Lee hitting that slice to the forehand net. Takahashi's getting it now. And then just making Lee hit another shot or two more into the rally, and as a result, getting some mistakes out of her.
Game point, 9. Game.
Wow, what a turnaround.
Opposite of the first
Second
game.
Like both,
won
like
by
two different players
Asuka
completely.
Takahashi, 21.
Be interesting to see in the third game who's putting the pressure on who, because it's switched both games.
Well, I mean, I think the Chinese coach has got to light a flame under their player, Lee. She's looking like she's just, you know, a little disappointed in the way she came out in the second game and isn't really getting fired up much. And Takahashi's coach has earned her pay for the day. She's doing a good job with it.
Takahashi just has to keep applying that pressure. Lee her shots were so accurate in the first game. She needs to get back to that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, Lee's shots the first game were right to the corner. I mean, I really didn't see what Takahashi could do. She was really just in retrieval mode more than anything else. And she sort of, I think she got better length and better accuracy with her shots. And she has been looking for those one or two go-to shots that Lee's using that were just going flat out on the ground the first game, and they're not now. She's getting him back. I think it's forcing Lee to hustle around a little bit more and play another 2 or 3 shot rallies, which, you know, is challenging her a bit. But she's got good net play. Wow.
Lee just takes the bird so high that Takahashi's always on the receiving end and having to chase it at the net.
And, you know, and Lee gave her a few unforced errors too, which we didn't see that much of in the first game. And
20 seconds,
you know, and
court 1, 20
like I said,
seconds.
quite a difference in the players we saw from the first game to the second game.
Takahashi just seemed ready to put a little bit more pressure on Lee, and that forced a lot of mistakes because she was willing to hit that extra 1 or 2 shots in the rally.
Good turnaround for an 18-year-old. You know, to be able to come out after a first game, which she looked pretty disappointed at it, and to flip it for the second.
Great comeback.
Final game.
And in keeping with all of our other semis, 3 games.
Play.
Another 3-game match. There it is. Oh. Great rally.
Service over. 1
Takahashi,
love.
she's getting those shots. She's getting the cross court, and there's that brush shot by Lee on the net that flips the bird over without faulting, without yourself following through or making contact with it over the net.
These shots are just so precise and well placed.
I think the thing for her is just to be a little bit more patient, but still keep that pressure on, but, you know, be ready for a slightly longer rally, but keep on. Like that's the most intensity you're seeing out of Lee, is that little fist pump. Well, maybe that's the way she plays anyways, but she looked like she was a little bit low in the second game. Just got to pump things up a bit.
Love.
Lee seems to be doing a little bit better on her depth now again and getting it right in those back corners.
It's a kiss of death as a commentator. The minute you make a comment like that, they do the opposite. It always happens. But you're right. She's putting way more to the corners and putting that pressure on again that she did in the first game. There you go again.
2-4.
But, you know, as a coach, that's the thing I don't always like to see is you have your player has an easy first game and they almost drop their intensity and their, you know, they just kind of relax, whether they know they should or they shouldn't. They do it anyways. And then the second game, you're like, uh-oh, this player's actually quite strong and coming at him, and it's hard to raise your game back up to the level you need it to be. Good idea by Takahashi.
Service over, 5-3.
Amazing. Takahashi is such a good runner, and she's able to chase down a lot of Lee's shots.
Just missed it.
7-3.
You know, it's not just the mileage you're covering when you're playing singles. It's the deceptiveness of your opponent that makes you pause and go down, and, you know, it's the stop-start part of it, too, that makes it so tiring. I don't know if you can see that all the time when you're watching it on TV, but... Lee's clears and her drops are just keeping Takahashi, you know, stopping and starting an awful lot. It's a tough game, the singles.
Lee's mixed up her game plan a little bit too. She's gotten a lot more into like the long clears, short drops, so she's changed that up a little bit too.
She's got a little more patient. I mean, I think Takahashi has to keep going for things. I mean, she can't get away with, you know, playing too safe a rally, because then I think Lee's going to be all over. I think she's got to keep, you know, going after stuff as much as she can, and unfortunately that means mistakes for her from time to time. Nice. Went cross court a rally or two earlier from that corner, and then goes straight with it.
As long as she can keep that pressure going, she'll win a lot more points.
Well, still within range, 4-9. Oh. Bit of a floater drop. I don't think that's the one she intended to hit.
Service over, 10-4. Interval change.
Well, back to a few of those mistakes. I think it's tiredness on Takahashi's part. You think she's getting a little bit worn out?
Yeah, she's got to keep those long rallies going while being able to keep a bit of the attack as well.
I just see a little bit more of that. Like you said, Lee changed up the pace a bit, starting to move Takahashi around the court a little bit more clearing, and in between all that, there are those holds at the net and the deception that she has that just keeps Takahashi a little bit off balance. I mean, she's still going after things, and I think she's fit enough to go after it still, but looks like she's getting a little bit worn out.
Lee's doing a much better job at keeping control in the rallies now in this game than she did in the second game.
Yeah, not as many unforced errors for sure. So what do you think Takahashi's coach is saying? Much the same, just don't make a mistake. I hate as a coach saying, you know, don't make mistakes. Well, it's like saying don't be nervous. But, you know, in a way it's like pull it in a bit and, you know, try to keep the bird in play. But at the same time, she's got to keep going after it.
And even if she can pull it into the middle a little bit, she'll make less errors when she's trying to attack. I think that was great because she had the attack really early on and started off the rally really strong.
Yeah. Haven't seen her really rush a serve like that yet either. Well, she really has adapted to that slice drop to the forehand corner, but she just wasn't anywhere near it the first game.
And Lee's making a lot more mistakes on them now as Takahashi's been able to get them back.
Yeah.
6-11.
It's like you got to do a few more of these to win the rally. I'm going to keep it coming back, and it puts pressure on. I mean, it's pressure when you're playing somebody who just starts getting all your shots back. You're like you said earlier, you have to hit it tighter, closer to the line, or hit more of them.
Fault. Receiver fault foot.
Oh, left early. So they're calling Lee on
7-11.
leaving before the serve was, before Takahashi made contact with the bird.
Don't see that very often in women's singles.
Well, they're both sort of looking to see who got faulted. Is it the server or the return server? Nice spot.
Service over. 12-7.
Wow. That's almost the same rally we saw in the last game, only this time Takahashi's winning it with the brush.
Yeah, she got right on top of the net.
Yeah. She learns fast. It's the right spot, just missing the back line there.
Service over.
It's the second time on those clears that I've thought it was the right corner, just slightly overhitting.
She's picking a lot better spots than she did in the first game, and she's placing the bird a lot better.
Yeah, like that smash we just saw from Lee, and then Takahashi, puts her back in trouble by crossing it. There it is. Yeah, she made it.
Court attendant. Round of applause, please. Service over 10-14.
It's a tired-looking shot. Although sometimes, you know, a little bit of a sit down on the court means it's got to be cleaned off, and you get a little bit of a break, and
A little bit of a mental break too to regroup.
yeah. She's really having trouble with those. She's having a lot of trouble with those attacking slices that won her rally after rally in the first game, and she's not. Lee is not able to finish them off as much in this third and the second game.
I think she's just hoping she's going to hit a perfect shot like she was doing in the first.
Good shots. Underhand deception from the net by Lee there. It's just, there it is. Little hold, looks like it's going straight, and she wings it cross court, opens up the court for the cross court smash.
Thank you. Service over 15-11.
Yeah, she read that one. Takahashi reaching, under it, and there's Lee jumping right on it.
Lee's back on her attack, and she's able to pick up on the short shots again.
Service over 12-18.
Yeah, Lee's just coming at her a little bit stronger
Service
now,
over
and seems to
19-12.
be a little more comfortable.
She's getting her back in those corners again like she did in the first game.
And not missing them. She's just a little bit more consistent now. Again, just not giving her those free points. Lee's not giving Takahashi those free points that she gave her in the second game. And Takahashi's covering a lot of court.
But I don't think Lee's giving her quite the same chance to attack like she did in the second game. It
No.
seems like Takahashi's back to running a lot more.
12.
There it is. Well, good fight by Takahashi, though.
That was a great match.
I think, you know, that's the key, is throwing your opponent, who everybody expects to be stronger, and trying to throw them off enough that they can, you can get a shot at them.
Match won by Li Xuerui, 21-11, 9-21, 21-12.
Well, definitely nothing to be ashamed about there from Takahashi. A great fight, and for an 18-year-old to come into this tournament and make the semifinals and go 3 games with a former Olympic gold medalist. Great showing by her. I'm sure we'll be seeing her down the road in a lot of tournaments, and taking up the next round of the strong Japanese team. They're coming on strong in so many events now.
Yeah, it was great to see that she was able to adjust her strategy and push back a little bit.
Yeah, it's a big difference, right? The difference between the first game and the second game, it was like 2 different players. And because of that, she made Li play that much worse.